His senses he scarcely dared believed, the engines lay aboard. He readied sail to head for home and claim his love's reward. But looking up, he spied the trick the sea had played with tide. The hull still held the funnel's top, as prisoner inside. Toward the dawn, the strangest sight, a light from ocean came. As if it drew its fuel from night, the sea was filled with flames. Nor furnace red, nor purple edged, the flames were pale as ghosts. Of souls sealed deep in ocean's tomb, they rose to dance and boast. The Frenchman knew to heed these signs, for he was weather wise. He saw a storm's arrival, which calm dawn could not disguise. So straight to raid his stores of wood, to anchors he leapt not, and set to fashion sea defences, his plans to leave forgot. With planks and joists and nails and chains, he hoist his last ramparts, though afternoon yet lent no hint of storm about to start. The ocean's green was emerald, the sky was cast afire. The sun did glint 1,000 stars, the sea that doe-eyed liar.
A line of birds arrowed for land, as west the cloud appeared, and next the sky from blue to grey, a shadowy mountain reared. The sun eclipsed enfolded in its gloomy, slow embrace. From earth to sky the granite cliff encircled him in space.
The wall of cloud a ceiling formed, then crash the thunder clapped, and all the fury of the sea around Les Douves wrapped. Flashes of lightning, splashes of rain, then came the wind and waves, in voice like hordes of chainless beasts that roared and shrieked and raved.
Hour after hour, blow upon blow, the foam flew higher and higher, volleys exploding on the rocks as loud as musket fire. Inside his fortress fought the knight, and bold the siege defied. His hammer strikes, repairing breaks, each thunderclap replied.
A sudden brightness breached the sky, as if the storm had ceased. The window closed as swell uprose, and rolled in from the east. Gigantic pillars on their sides, huge cylinders of glass, they shattered over each defence, as one by one they passed.
Within the last, the shape of fins, it seemed a living thing, its monstrous death upon the rocks, away his beams did fling. The waters seethed between the rocks, his castle wall was down. They sought the stronghold of the sloop, and engines for their crown.
Above a blaze of lightning showed, disaster was at hand. Durand was also breaking up, and on the sloop would land. Its mast was swinging on a hinge, with sad and grinding noise. One half would fall safe, the other over his boat was poised.
The waters seethed, the hinges creaked, his hour was almost run. At last he grasped the means to meet his enemies as one. A danger is a power to some. He mounted on the wreck, and balanced by his axe began to cut away the deck.
The planks were bent like leaves of books, beneath his feet they shook. His strokes were notes of pride defiance, for the life he had forsook. A furious eye upon him flexed, but hurled its lightning blind. Its winds it whirled like ropes ran tight, the storm had lost its mind. His axe in air the Frenchman paused, one half about to fall. It fell and caught between the rocks, to form another wall.
And now the sea could only rage against its passage blocked, for sloop and engine both secured and safe inside were locked. Its final vengeance on the wreck had made the stormy storm, so turning to his vanquished foe, he cried full throat, "You fool!"
From blackest night to dawning light, his battle cry was heard, for from the gloom there dashed a shape, he blinked, a glimpse a bird. The only sound a surly growl, as rain stopped all around. The storm had ceased as sudden as a plank that fell to ground. His victory quick gripped his limbs, Fatigue pulsed through and through. Then tumbling in his sloop, he slept, as above the seagulls flew.
The greater the trial, said the priest, the more cause to rejoice. Then follow deep to where the fiend did dwell, replied the voice.
He woke among the joists and beams, spread eagled where he lay. His thirst quenched first, he went in search, his hunger scarce at bay. He chased a crab beneath the rocks, his knife between his teeth. It raced along a passageway that led him underneath. This crevice, a cavern's entrance, exposed when tide was low. There alone, within hollowed stone, her secret sea could stow. The Frenchman groped, crouched low, then rose, and struck his head again, as twisting tunnels bent toward the centre of her den. There came at last a cavern vast, sepulchral in its height, where many ripples from a pool did gleam with spectral light. A sunken arch let sun enchant this dazzling water palace, but shadowed loomed, and in its tomb there lurked a watching malice. Those damasked walls were tapestries with seaweed filigreed, but in the moisture from their stones an abattoir did bleed. A rock in shape, an outer block, across the cave they lay. As he encroached, he sensed the dark, encroached and drew away.
It seemed a seat for fairy queens, or Venus from the sea. Then to his shock behind the block, a skull did grin with glee. He did not run, nor terror shun. Instead he stooped to find a set of bones clean stripped and picked, on which the crabs had dined. Beneath the crabs, below the ribs, a belt curled round the spine. Its buckle gripped, he flicked the clip, and leather slow untwined. Once held the belt, a lump was felt, a box was sewn inside. Its spring was rust, and so with knife the stiffened lid he prized.
The rusted lid did open fly, some papers were inside. Each note was worth £1,000, with these the man had died. Amazed, he grabbed the belt again and rubbed away the grit. There, traced in faded ink, the words Monsieur Clubin were writ. The captain's plan had been escape, the two-faced, shameless thief. The puzzle was, once ships had left, how he then came to grief.
Behind a whip quick gripped his arm, and in his skin did seal, supple as leather, strong as iron, its clutch was cold as steel. A second spiral struck and sent, another 100 pangs. One glance and straight he knew his life did in the balance hang. No roar, no horn, no spikes, no claws, no sting, no fins, no jaws. With just his arms the devil fish more pain than all could cause. The suckers on those arms around his writhing limbs did clasp, 1,000 minute mouths, each one a perfect cupping glass. His muscles swelled and nerves rebelled, as mouths devoured their feast, not eaten alive but sucked inside that hellish slimy beast. Another arm did wind and bind as tighter grew the folds. He took his chance, his knife to grasp, his blood was running cold. Face to face in that grim embrace he returned the demon's gaze. His hand on hilt he waited for the fiend its head to raise. The cunning host had first desired to petrify its guest. With him benumbed it forward flung to fasten on his chest. Its softest part exposed at last, the Frenchman took his cue. He sliced and twisted with his knife as if a tooth he drew. With one swift strike from body clean, the demon's head he cleaved. The arms went limp, then fell away, a clump of empty sleeves.